Hi, and welcome to another Cape Conversations. We are in the town of Orleans, Massachusetts. We're on Route 28 at a great place called the Addison Gallery. Very excited to be here. Going to talk to a couple of artists. Going to talk with Helen Addison herself. So come along, let's have a Cape conversation. Hi, I am here with Helen Addison, owner of Addison Galleries in
Orleans.
Orleans, almost said Wellfleet. What is the matter with me? But you're on Route 28, right?
Right, South Orleans Road.
Wow. Now tell me, we've known each other actually. We should be up front. We've known each other for a long time. What a gorgeous place.
Thanks.
Oh, it is wonderful. Now, how many artists do you represent?
We have just over 30 artists.
Wow.
Most of them from the United States, one from France, one from Mexico, and probably about half of them are from Cape Cod.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So you're really promoting the cultural industry here on the Cape.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of events year-round. We have free demonstrations, artist talks. We have a lot of receptions, and what's really, really nice is we get tons of our artists coming to the receptions so that when people are new to the area, they can come in and actually come here and make friends. You know, one of our collectors says that we're part of the social fabric of the community.
Oh, well, you can ask for more than that.
Really?
And how many years have you been here now?
It's about 16.
16 years. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And did the building, which is beautiful from the outside, did it look like this always, or did you have to come in and rehab it? And
it was basically like this. We added this contemporary space when I bought the building, but the traditional half cape downstairs was with the reclaimed boards was the way it was. Yeah.
Lucky you. Lucky you. So we're going to talk to two of your artists today, which I'm very excited about. Now, what have you got coming up? Do you have any, workshops?
Well, we're heading into the holiday season right now.
Right.
So we're going to have events every weekend from Thanksgiving weekend right up until just before Christmas.
All right.
And we're going to do some things with kids. We have a couple of our artists are going to make ornaments and cards and mini sculpture, little gifts that they can make here. Mrs. Claus is going to come by.
Excellent.
And then we're going to have some evening receptions, which are definitely more adult gear. We'll have some live music and hors d'oeuvres.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So what are your hours? If I wanted to come here and just kind of breathe in all this beautiful artwork, what
we're pretty much open 10 to 5, 7 days a week this time of the year, and then when we get into right after Thanksgiving, we'll stay open later on weekends.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great. And who are some of your customers from all around the world?
They are from all around the world. We have people that buy work from us that have never been on Cape Cod.
Really?
Yeah, and we've shipped work obviously all across the country, throughout the Americas, Europe, Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And as I said to you a little bit ago, you look exactly the same as I saw you 15, 20 years ago.
And that's when I said she was a bullshitter.
It's okay. It's okay. Because you do. You haven't changed. You haven't changed one iota. You look great. Well, I'm just excited to be here. Now we're going to talk to a couple of your artists, and I think one of them is going to do a demonstration for us as well.
Right. John Murphy kindly brought over his easel and his paints and a painting that he's been working on for a while. And
excellent.
He's going to show us what he does.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for coming.
Well, I am here, standing next to me, the fabulous artist, Mark Goodman. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Beautifully.
Excellent, excellent.
Perfect.
Well, first of all, I actually went online and looked at your paintings, which are stupendous. They're gorgeous.
Thank you.
Tell me about the medium that you work in.
I work in, it's a wax-based medium, so it's
oh, you got to explain it to me.
Well, instead of oil, usually oil paints, so you stick color into the oil, and that makes your paint. In this case, you actually stick the color into melted beeswax.
Wow.
So it's a little more complex than melted beeswax, but that's basically
the idea. Do you have to keep it hot all the time?
Yeah, so my palette, instead of the traditional palette, is like a old pancake griddle. And I have little cans, like tuna fish cans, that I set up on it, and I have a big pot of my melted beeswax that's clear, and I'll pour that into the little cans, and then I'll add either a little bit of oil paint or some other dried pigments to actually color the wax.
I see.
And so it's because it's hot, it's liquid. I can paint with it, but as you can imagine, I have a very short time period.
I was going to say
when I start applying and it starts getting solid. So it's a different. It's half half of the process is brushing it on, and then there's a second component which includes reheating the wax. And with each layer that you apply, each layer of brush strokes, you actually have to reheat it with I like using a torch. You can use a hot air gun. And so the secondary tool, really, it's not just brushing, but it's also the melting. It becomes part of the brush work.
So do you use a palette knife?
Nope, just regular.
Just regular
they're
brushes.
wide brushes, maybe about that wide.
Like I would
flat.
take trim work with?
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, there's a Japanese style bristle brush.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Okay. And what are they made out of? Just out of curiosity.
That's a natural. It has to be natural. If you stick a plastic brush on the pancake griddle, you get a big mess. But they're just like horsehair or something like that. I don't know. Whatever they natural.
Good. And so, Mark, were you an artist all your life, or did you just at some point in your life go, "Oh my gosh, I want to do this and use wax"?
Well, as a teenager, I really wanted to be an artist. But going to college, I was trying to be practical, so I became a creative. I got a degree in graphic design, so I spent.
You didn't become an accountant.
No, but I was sort of the rationalized artist in me. I could be, like convince my parents I could make a living as a creative person by being a graphic designer. So I did that in various cities around the country for at least 15 years, and it's still part of what I do. That's part of my life. But when I moved to the Cape in 1997, I live up near Truro, near Provincetown, and it's sort of like this natural place, I think.
Sure.
You're almost compelled to paint when you move out here.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I always wanted to paint, so I'm gonna do this. Just for the fun of it. But I think I also, in my mind, thought this might be a direction I want to take my life.
Excellent.
So that's
wonderful.
been since I guess heading on about 15 years.
I was going to say, at least 15, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be pretty close to that. That's exciting. That's very exciting. So now, how do you come up with your subject matters? I know right now we're looking at one of these paintings right here. So, the daisy. What prompted it? Just because it's fun? I mean, to me, that's a fun painting.
Thank you. The flowers are actually pretty new. I'm generally known for doing paintings that are more based on the kind of the visual language of the Outer Cape, like the boats and the houses.
Yeah.
I also do some figure paintings. But the Provincetown Art Association Museum asked me to contribute a painting this summer to one of their shows called The Art of the Garden.
Right.
And they know me, and I don't paint flowers. I've never painted a flower before. And they said, "Oh, but I'm sure you'll come up with something." So I'm also an avid gardener, and
wonderful.
So I thought, well, this is my excuse finally to paint flowers. I sort of shied away from them. Thought, well, the flowers,
silly.
They're pretty already. Why do I need to paint them?
Yeah.
And so I just jumped into it, and I really explored my garden. I took photos of a lot of the plants that were in my garden. These are actually based on flowers that were in my garden, and just I let myself just create loose, free, fun, very different than the boats paintings, which are a little more. They're more studied in their composition of like relationships between. Right. These are more. I think of these as portraits.
Right, of each flower.
Yeah,
so
this
nice.
is kind of like I thought of almost like a court jester. It seemed humorous to me. The one behind you is seemed like a roaring lion. So
excellent.
Create characters.
That's great. And so how long have you been here in Addison Gallery? Are you in other galleries, or is this your primary gallery?
Helen is my exclusive representative. So
wonderful.
And I've been here, I guess, heading on 4 years, I think. So
wonderful.
It's been
wonderful.
A great
and so
experience.
you're a member of the Provincetown Art Association and
Yes.
all of those groups.
Yep. I had also participated quite a bit in things that are going on at the Fine Arts Work Center.
Oh, nice.
And I have my studio is actually up in Provincetown.
Oh yeah. Where is it a working studio? People can come and watch you, or
sure.
No? Where is it?
People. It's on 14 Bradford Street.
Okay.
In the west end of Provincetown.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
I'm always happy to have
people come
by.
by.
I also
watch
do
what you
occasional workshops there.
Oh, wonderful.
Through the Art Association.
Yeah. Do you do workshops for other artists, or primarily
no, just for
amateurs?
Anyone who wants to spend a weekend or 4 hours playing with wax, I'm happy to.
What a fun thing.
To give them a space to try that out.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's
you
great
are terrific.
To meet you.
Nice to meet you
nice
too, sir.
Thanks.
Well, now I am standing with not only a wonderful artist, but also the owner of a landmark in the town of Orleans, John Murphy. How are you, John?
Thank you.
I am so excited to be standing here. First of all, behind us, we've got some lovely paintings that we're going to look at. And I think in a minute you're going to do a little demonstration for us, which would be great.
Right.
But tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, first of all, you own one of the iconic businesses in Orleans. I mean, if anybody comes to Orleans, where did they go? Landho. So how did all that happen? And first of all, how did you weren't born on Cape, you're not Cape Codder, are you?
No, I was born and raised in the western part of the state. And during my Navy days, I had a cousin in Orleans who was an attorney, Frank Richards. And Frank had invited me up from Newport to the Cape for a weekend.
Going to take care of the kid, right, while he was in the
Yeah,
area.
and
That's great.
I drove up, it was either 59 or 60, and spent a weekend here in New Orleans, and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it a plan at that time, but after my discharge, I came down to work summers while I was going to school, and spent 4 summers in Orleans,
Oh, that's wonderful.
and got more sand in my shoes and more attached. During school, I spent a year and a semester and a few months in art school. And I had planned to be an artist. Well, fate came my way, and supporting myself by working in different restaurants, I ended up
And you
with a
didn't want to
job.
be a starving artist, is that
No,
correct?
no, I like the taste of food.
Yeah, you go.
I ended up that year as a management personnel with Anthony's Pier 4.
Oh, wow.
And it was
And
exciting.
back then was a big time restaurant.
Yeah,
That's
it was-
where all the elite met and all the politicians would go there. I bet
Yeah.
you've seen a few people.
Oh yeah, it was a challenge work-wise, but because the amount of people that went through there, but the people I met and talked to, and the people who experienced this place, it was just, it's something that comes along very rarely.
Sure.
And to enjoy working for a man who was really a hard-working perfectionist. I mean,
Right.
he wanted everything just so, and you know, for the amounts of people, 2,000 or 3,000 people a day
Wow.
that went through there
Can
during the
imagine.
week, they did a great job.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. So, okay, so now you're at Anthony. How did you end up coming back and living on the Cape and opening a restaurant?
Well, Anthony had 4 restaurants at that time and 4 sons, and I knew that
You weren't going anywhere too high, right?
my rung of the ladder was about as high as I was going to get, and it was exciting. I really wanted to learn more about the business, so I ended up going to work for Sheraton Hotel Corporation in the Inns division, and I traveled with them and spent a year and a half in Tennessee and different places, and it was exciting. But I always had this echo in my ear from working on the Cape,
Right.
waiting on tables or tending bar, that people always spoke of having that place on the Cape, or buying a piece of real estate, buying a summer cottage, retiring in 30 years, retiring in 15 years.
Right.
And one morning I was taking the subway into Boston to the office, and as the subway dipped into the tunnel, I saw my reflection in the window, and I looked at myself with a 3-piece suit, briefcase.
And how old were you, sir?
At that time I was 28. And
Something must happen. My husband wanted to move here when he turned 30, and it
Right.
took us 2 years to sell our home in the Midwest. But we moved 3 kids here, and it was kind of the same thing. He came home one day and said, "I can't do this anymore." And I thought at first he was talking about me, but he didn't mean me at all. He just didn't like Ohio.
well, I during the years I was off the Cape, every vacation, every weekend, if
Oh, I
I could
see.
get away, I'd come down here. So that morning, looking at myself, I decided, why should I wait 25 or 30 years? I think I want to go now.
So,
So that day in the office, I dictated a letter of leave of absence and stirred up a few people. But,
I can imagine.
I made my plan. I came down the Cape, and a place that I felt could be a good spot
For a restaurant.
for a restaurant was there, but
Yeah.
it wasn't doing too much. And the owner had another restaurant listed. It was in real estate. And I went in inquiring about the other restaurant, and he said, "Why don't you buy the land hoe?" And I almost fell out of the chair. We worked out the deals, and that was it.
Well, now I have a question. The logo with the fisherman with the the sou'wester on and all of that. Was that your? Did you change that over to that, or has that always been the emblem?
No, when I took it over, it became the emblem.
Right.
A good friend of mine, John Howard, was an artist, and he did a couple logos for me at one of the Land Ho, one was another place, and it stuck. I mean,
Yeah.
that's been
Well, it's been there forever. I mean,
Right.
it's iconic to the Cape and certainly to the town of Orleans. And from that, you opened the restaurant. That was what? How long ago?
1969.
Wow.
This is my 44th season. I just ended.
In 1969, we came to Cape Cod on our honeymoon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we drove right through Orleans, but didn't stop at the Land Ho.
Yeah, we weren't.
We should've.
We weren't very well known then.
Okay.
But what's really made the business, it's really the customers. The cast of characters I call
Oh
them.
yeah. You definitely
Because-
have the locals.
Yeah, I mean, we set the stage and supply the food and so
Yep.
forth, but they're really the business.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
well, I was
interrupt
going
you.
to say it's fun now with different generations. you
Oh,
know,
sure.
Experiencing.
Do you
and
have a son or a daughter that's running?
I have
it now?
3 sons who are involved in the
Oh,
businesses.
there you go.
Yeah,
There you
one's
go.
my oldest son is Orleans. My youngest son is in Harwichport, Land Ho there.
Yeah.
And my middle son spends the winters in our place in Costa Rica.
Oh,
We have
nice.
A small resort hotel on the Pacific Ocean.
Wonderful.
And Trevor is a Cordon Bleu graduate. And
Wonderful.
so the food's a little different there.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, a little bit different.
But all 3 were involved. And
Well, that's excellent. That's
I
good.
never, in my wildest dreams, thought that one of them would stick around.
Yeah, and they all 3 did. That's
Right, all
excellent.
3 did.
Well, now tell me, okay, so you're running a restaurant, you know, you're back in the kitchen, you're ordering the alcohol for the bar,
Right.
you're probably a bartender once in a while, you're wiping
Right.
up tables, you're mopping the floors. How did you find time to do painting?
Well, I didn't, to be honest, the day I left school, when I started, that's my first week at Pure 4, I realized I can't do both. So I packed everything away, and it sat in the trunk for 20 some odd years.
Is that right?
And the only drawing I did was drawing down a bank account to get the place going.
There you go.
But the inspiration came following art. And I have a very dear friend now who is a great teacher. And I had collected a couple of his paintings after seeing a show that he had when I was in art school. And I was just completely taken by how this man could paint. His name's Robert Douglas Hunter.
Oh, sure.
And I met Bob after I had several of his paintings in 1980. And it was during Kennedy's announcement of running for president. And Bob and Liz lived in the same building.
Oh, my
on
goodness.
250 Beacon Street as Joan Kennedy. And I went up with a friend, Frank Hogan. Frank was picking up a couple paintings from Bob, and I had my accountant to visit. Well, Frank wanted me to meet Bob, and it was a great day in my life.
Yeah,
to
sure,
meet
sure.
the dean. Well, I ended up buying the 2 paintings that Frank had picked up
Yeah,
because they meant a lot to me.
yeah.
And I met Bob, and several years later, he and Liz bought a house in Orleans.
Right.
And at their housewarming that first night, he grabbed me at about 11 o'clock and said, "I'm going to be at Fort Hill tomorrow morning at 5. Get your paint box and meet me."
Is that right?
And I said, "Bob," I haven't touched the brush. And he said, "I don't care. Bring it. Meet me there."
Oh, wonderful.
And I was thrilled.
Right.
So I went home and I dug everything out, and it was a hard start.
Yeah, yeah.
But I kept plucking away,
Right.
and as time went by, I started painting a little bit more, and one of Bob's students, Neil Drevittson from Vermont, I really liked his work, and I met Neil, and his wife would come down twice a
So
year to
you would-
visit. So we'd go out painting, and he was very, very helpful in my
Oh, that's
my
great.
move forward to paint.
In the beginning.
Right.
So, now Mark has a different style. We've talked about Mark's painting, we looked at his paintings. His are a little bit different. I think he calls it expressionist painting. To me, yours is a little more realistic. And what do you call them?
Well, it's more realistic impressionism. you might say.
Okay, I see. And what's your subject matter? What's some of your subject matter?
Well,
Is it
it's
local?
Hard, it's hard to say. I do a lot of local things.
Right.
I paint a lot in Paris. I've exhibited in Paris. fact, I had a show in 2004 where 72 people from here flew over for the opening.
Oh, how fun.
Helen being one of them.
Oh,
And,
is that right?
Yeah, it was an exciting part of my life.
Oh, sure,
Thinking, you know,
sure.
to get in the gallery would be one thing, but have a, you know,
Yeah.
be on the left bank. But I paint pretty much the theme. If we're doing a show here,
Mm-hmm.
we'll have a theme and we'll go out. Could be, you know, the good life.
Yeah,
and
right.
doing paintings of things that represent the good life.
Sure.
And this 2 weeks ago we had Capture the Cape. And it was a program we did with 25 other artists.
Oh, nice.
And we took Saturday of that weekend and we all went out.
Oh, almost like a wet brush.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
box lunches and hats and balloons all over the town. And
Oh, that's great.
it was
Fun.
exciting. Orleans Camera, 30 of their photographers showed.
Oh, nice.
And they spent the day photographing all the people. And
Right. Oh, that's great.
and that was the theme of
Sure,
Capture the Cape.
sure.
So we did paintings on Main Street and all
Oh, that's
over.
wonderful.
It was fun.
Excellent, excellent. And what medium do you work in?
Primarily oils,
Oils.
but I do pastel, watercolors, and acrylics also.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Wasn't that fun talking with John Murphy and Mark Goodman? I hope I said his name right. Anyway, it was a great time talking with Helen Addison and learning all about the gallery business and what they do down here in Orleans at the Addison Gallery. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and come along next time for another Cape Conversation.
Thank you.